There is a $40,000 grant for Californian homeowners who are eligible, who are building an ADU. The rules keep evolving, so the big change, well, there's a bunch of changes, but the big change that we're going to talk about today is that you do not need a loan, a construction loan anymore, to qualify for the grant. In the past, you needed to go through a specific list of lenders who could only offer you construction style loans. Now they're starting to add nonprofits and cities and other entities that can help you qualify for the grant. And one of them, HPP CARES, is on the show today because Catherine over there, she can qualify you for the grant without any kind of loan. Now, if you want to get a loan, you can use a loan too. You could use a HELOC, you could use a second mortgage, you could use anything, right? Well, not anything. We'll get into the details. Catherine, welcome to How to ADU.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to be here. Boy, don't we go long way back, long time ago.
That's it. It's exciting, and I think we're at the cusp of something really special because $40,000 is a big chunk of the project. ADUs are expensive, but $40,000 can make or break a project, right?
Exactly.
So what has changed in the past kind of week's announcement?
Definitely. So our organization obviously was approved last Thursday. And so our organization now allows individuals who are looking to ADU to be able to bring in cash, meaning cash from previous cash out refinances, from previously closed HELOCs that are just kind of sitting, home equity lines of credit for those of you that don't know, people who want to use their savings, their 401ks, they want to get into their IRAs. Wherever you have cash that is in an account, we are going to work with you to put those funds in a managed escrow, a third party outside of HPP CARES that is licensed and bonded as a fund control to ensure that you have that other set of eyes to manage this process. So you say, well, Catherine, I want to do an ADU and I want to pay cash from whatever sources I mentioned earlier. You will wire those proceeds into a managed escrow account, and our organization will obviously approve you for the $40,000 grant. So you have your $40,000 grant and you have the managed escrow that has that cash that you are going to be using to complete your project. That's one part. The other part is we also have a financing mechanism that if you are looking for a financing option, i.e. you're looking for a second mortgage, or you're looking for a HELOC or home equity line of credit, our organization will pair you with some of our lending partners to help you obtain a second mortgage that way. And then from there, those proceeds, once that escrow is closed, would in turn be wired into the managed escrow account, and then the $40,000 would be added to that. Amazing. Those are our two new options. Yeah. And we are adding various pieces to that in order to make it so that everyone who comes to our website will be approved as long as you meet the minimum guidelines.
That's amazing. And as long as there's still money available.
And there's still money available, because as they say, I'm the Peter Pan of all of this. So I'm trying to get that money out as fast as I possibly can.
I love it. So now that means you've got two options. And one of those options is like a million options. If somebody wants to come to you and actually does need a loan, you're going to hook them up with a lender, and that lender will have a variety of options, including home equity line of credits, second mortgages, refis, cash out refis, whatever they need. You've got brokers or lenders ready to service that. If they already have money, even if that's through financing through not one of your lenders, then that can fit in too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's really that's a long, complicated way to say it. That's almost everybody. That's
almost everybody. As long as you meet the income guidelines, you are an owner occupant of, if it's a single family property or if it's multi-units, because that's something new that just happened last week. If you occupy multi-unit building and you want to do an ADU, you have an opportunity to access this grant fund. It's amazing. The program is moving so fast that we honestly can't even in our office keep up, because there's now so many opportunities for consumers like yourself to access the ADU grant fund.
Yeah. And that's their goal, right? They want to free up these funds, and and people, entities like yours are saying like, hey, if the only thing that's slowing us down is that there's all these like loan requirements for an escrow for a controlled account. Let me just make a controlled account. Like you could pay a
Exactly.
company to do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So our organization took it on. We're a HUD housing counseling agency for many of the viewers out there. What does that mean? Our staff, as well as myself, are certified HUD approved housing counselors to do the work what we do. We counsel individuals, we assist them. And with our program, we also pair consumers with the HUD inspectors, because the end game here is we want to make sure that we not only ensure that your money is protected through the managed escrow, we protect the state's grant funds to ensure that they've given you this grant graciously, okay, that does have potential tax implications. So I want to stress that. Before you do hit the button to complete your application, I want you to speak with a certified public accountant or your tax advisor to understand that, yes, this is a grant, but how can you prepare for your taxes next year? Because I'm certain this is going to be classified as income. So you want to make sure that you do meet with a tax advisor.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Yes.
the financial details are super important because it is a significant amount of money. So
Yes, it is.
if it gets added to your income as like a windfall or whatever,
Right.
you need to plan for that.
Exactly.
They don't just take out a little bit of money like your paycheck. Do you expect more changes, or are things pretty solid now?
I honestly think that there are a few concerns, and particularly with those who have completed ADUs. And, we're waiting for the grant funds to have an opportunity like this.
Mhm.
So, as an advocate,
Yeah,
and the volume of consumers that I'm seeing who have completed their ADU projects, I hear you loud and clear out there.
yeah.
And I hear your concern that, there was a level of inequality, as I would call it. And so we want to hear from you. So you say, well, what does someone need to do in order to possibly get on the list for those people who don't fit the category of, I already completed my ADU, or I'm an investor and, I want to use the ADU grant funds. We have put a box on our webpage where all the information regarding the program is. And we want to make sure that we capture just a little bit of your information. We're going to get your name, we're going to get the address of the property, and we're going to get, are you an investor and that's your issue, or are you an ADUer who already completed your project within the last 2 years or a year? Okay. So that we can bring that to the powers to be to have a conversation. So I'm trying to accommodate every situation to try to remove the hurdle. Okay. Now, I can't tell you that, the little nonprofit in Long Beach can move mountains, but at least with the data points, I can have an intelligent conversation to try to advocate for potential changes. Okay. But again, it's not set in stone. So as of today, August 15th of this recording, I think it's about 11:30, understand that no, investors cannot participate in the program. If you have an LLC and its corporate name, cannot participate in the program. If you already have a completed ADU, you cannot participate in the program. But understand that I am listening and I want to know more about your projects so that in turn, maybe I can push the needle to have those be something that's approved in the coming weeks.
So I'm gonna put links to the HPP CARES website.
Mhm.
I'm gonna direct everybody to one page where it's just like, read this page, guys. I know you all have the same questions. We try to address the biggest ones in this video. Read the page.
Yeah.
The page will also evolve over time, and so read it carefully. Read it twice. Then you're gonna pick which of the many actions you could take. There's like two different forms depending on if you're bringing your own money to the table or if you're looking for a lender. And is this like, do you suggest that people who don't fit into the current eligibility requirements use one of those two forms as well?
Actually, no, I'm going to put a third box on there. So it'll probably be on the bottom, towards the bottom of the screen. And so across the bottom, we actually have three boxes. We have people who are using cash. We have people that are using cash and financing. We have those that are strictly using financing. And then there'll be a fourth box that basically speaks to all others. And it'll give a definition. I'm an investor. I'm someone who already completed my ADU project. And you'll be able to provide us a tidbit of information. No, we're not asking for socials in that particular box because obviously you've already, your investor, it doesn't fit in. You've already completed an ADU. But again, we'll just need your name and the address for all those people who fit in the other box so that I can start to collectively gather data points and then speak to the powers to be to see if we can push the needle with regards to everybody else that's not qualifying, i.e., I'm paying cash, i.e., I'm paying cash and financing, i.e., I'm financing.
That's great. And it just shows, because I just tested the website 2 days ago, but things are evolving. So Catherine's adding a third box. She's going to add a fourth box. So almost definitely by the time you watch this video, the best advice I can give you is to go read the page.
Yeah.
And then secondly, subscribe to the channel, because we do these updates. We're going to have Catherine back on every time there's a new breakthrough. We just talked to some lenders who are offering a construction loan that takes a second. That video will appear on the page soon too. Just stay informed, because this stuff is evolving.
Yeah.
And then third, what Catherine's saying, I just want to really back it up. It's like the state agency, CalHFA, and the state funding, which comes from like our state government, are both very motivated to get these funds out.
Yes.
And just by you watching these videos, leaving us your comments, both at HPP CARES and at How to ADU, that has made a big difference. Where literally people are calling us and saying like, what are the obstacles to this grant money getting out? And we've been telling them, and that's why these changes are taking place.
Yep.
And so you're not just somebody watching a YouTube video right now. You're somebody who's really changing the way that this government policy is enacted, and that's a big difference. So big thank you to everybody who's watching. Please feel empowered to share information with HPP CARES. It's a trustworthy organization. Feel free to let me know what obstacles you're running into in the various places I collect comments. This information is getting up to the decision makers, and they are then working with institutions like HPP CARES to change things, which is outstanding. If you told me a few years ago when I was putting around reading this policy stuff that we'd actually have this kind of difference, I wouldn't have believed you. And here we are. So
yeah, exactly. And I echo those sentiments. Who would have ever thought Ryan and I on an ADU class would have had the opportunity to now be full circle and doing the work that we're doing, i.e. I'm with an influencer right now, which I'm honored to be with. And then on flip side, we're actually making movement and creating housing. So it's just full circle.
Yeah. And actually, so this is something that's come up a couple times, and I'd love to give you a chance to just talk a bit about what the work you've done, because people have Googled HPP CARES and been like, wait, I see like credit counseling and other financial kind of literacy services.
Yeah.
Because you're not just an ADU person, you've done a lot of things for tenants and advocacy. Do you want to talk a bit about that background?
Yeah, definitely. We established the organization in 2009 at the crux of the major mortgage meltdown. We helped over hundreds of thousands of families sustain home ownership through the mortgage modification process way back when. We also assist consumers in just building solid financial foundations. What you'll look at the mission with our organization is we basically meet people where they are and help them move forward in a nutshell, whatever their situation is. If you're on payday loans and don't have, or on check systems and don't have a checking account, our organization has not only the education, but we have the products and services that match that. And that's why when I step into this arena, I've been teaching the ADU class for forever, okay, with the state's program, but didn't actually have the products and services to meet the needs of the consumers. All I could really do was provide the education. We've thus been catapulted into this arena to now not only be able to actually hand out the tangible money. And it's hilarious because some people I get on the phone with, they're like, I can't believe it's that easy. It is so easy. If you get us what we need and you answer the phone when you see HPP CARES calling, I may stress that. When you see HPP CARES calling, you need to VIP it like it's your children calling or someone important in your life, because we're calling because we need something to be done so that we can get your approval in. Okay, we already know your income is there because many of you aren't going to submit if you know you're beyond the income guidelines, which I appreciate that all from everyone who's paying attention to the guidelines. But at the end of the day, you're the one blocking yourself because we've had to chase people down. Literally Sunday, I was calling people 6, 7 o'clock at night. Look, I'm trying to give you this money. Complete the documents that we're requiring. To the application, and I just want to touch on that. Sorry, I'm a little long-winded and all over the place. But when you do complete your application, yeah, some of you may not have a contractor. Put NA. Any area that you do not have a certain bit of information, just put NA. I am physically looking at every application that's coming through our system to try to get the approvals out there. I swear to you, I'm the Peter Pan of ADUs right now. Allow me to give you the money if we can give it to you. I can't stress it.
You,
Yes, I've lost my mind over here.
you get a grant. You get a grant. All right. So, so that let's talk a bit about the actual process. They're going to go to that page. They're going to read it twice. They're going to pick which form to fill out. If it's applicable and they decide it's a good idea for them, talk to the CPA, talk to the tax advisor, kind of thing. And then they're gonna that form, that application, if it's one of the three where you're eligible, it's pretty heavy. There's like, upload your W-2s and upload your taxes from last year or whatever. There's a lot of what's your show us your
Okay,
plans and permits.
so
Show us your agreement with
let's
the
talk
company.
about this application
Yeah, yeah,
because everybody has a fit about the application.
yeah.
Okay. The application is heavy in that now that our organization is doing the volume that we're doing, a lot of the politicians and the leadership over the state program want us to gather certain demographic information, financial information, ethnicity, just to kind of get a gauge for what consumers are coming through this program. I can only just answer the questions so that we can get you a completed application as long as you fit the income guidelines.
That's
And
it.
that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I do get a question of if there's multiple people in a household. So let's say husband and wife or significant other or domestic partners, however your layout is, and it's causing the income to exceed. We can, as long as one of the participants is on that grant deed, we can use one of them to make the grant happen. Okay. I get a lot of people that try to disqualify themselves. And if that's one thing you do not take away, don't self disqualify yourself. Submit on the application. Let me take a look at it and see what we can do to help the process to get you the grant funds. I have people who say, oh, I've got poor credit. I don't have the best job. I work at, a local retailer. I make, $13 an hour. What does that have to do with anything?
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
Don't self disqualify yourself. Okay. This is money I am trying to actively get out for you. I am a nonprofit. I see everything, bad credit, great credit, wealthy individuals to the lowest impoverished person. Let me be the one that determines yes or no, you can qualify for those grant funds. The money is here. Okay. We've all been complaining. How come the grant funds have not been accessible? I think prior to us getting approval, there were 17 approvals. We basically have in the pipeline 200 approvals. As soon as I get back to my desk, we're going to be issuing approvals. So submit the paperwork. Let us do the qualifying aspect of it.
To that, I did some quick math and I'm like, basically most ADUs could be eligible. If you looked at like the past 6 months ADU production, that's something like 1,000 ADUs a month in the state of California. There's only enough money for 2,500 grants.
Yeah.
So like, I expect Catherine to by herself go through most of the grant reservations.
That's our objective
In the next 3 or 4 months.
That's my objective as HPP CARES CEO and Executive Director, is to blow through those 2,500 grants so that the state can get another $100 million out there so we can create housing. We have a housing crisis in this state, in this country, and we are the trailblazers of this ADU program. Governor Newsom has done a fabulous job at putting this money out here. I want him to put more money out here so I can stop walking by the hundreds and thousands of people that I meet and encounter who don't have affordable housing that come through our agency in a day, who need affordable housing. That's what this is intended for. I'm the agency that's going to make it happen. So get your applications in.
I love it. And this is how I met Catherine. She comes from a place for like tenant advocacy and affordable housing and home ownership, preservation, like all of these things. And I was like, why ADU? You're just doing it because ADUs are one more awesome solution to those goals. So, that's kind of the biggest part of the shift isn't a news announcement of like a product offer, in my opinion. It's
Right.
that when you have an organization like this one that's qualified with CalHFA, you're going to see a different motivation and customer service than because nothing wrong with being a lender and a for-profit business, but you've got a business and this grant is one stream of income
Right.
and that fits into your overarching business. Whereas the thought process I've seen so far has been very different and very engaging and
Yes.
very innovative. Catherine almost likes getting the people who can't qualify as much as the ones who can, because that can lead to some more changes down the road, and we like changing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Whew, all right. So having said all that, we go back to the process. Once you get that grant reserved,
Hmm.
do we know how it actually like goes into the account and gets reimbursed, or
Yeah.
is that still okay?
So we'll touch on that. So once you get us a completed application, and the key components of the application is we need the fund control account application completed. And that's where a lot of people get hung up because they say to themselves, well, I don't have a contractor. Put NA. Then you must fill out the affidavit to participate in the program. And then there's a participant or applicant affidavit, and then there's a participant affidavit. I need both of those executed, one of which is going to require your annual income. Okay, so you'll put that in the box. Then I need your name, your address, and your social security number. Literally, if you could get me those items and leave everything else out, we can put your reservation into the system. From there, I will then check your grant deed to make sure that the deed is who it's supposed to be. We will do a calculator worksheet to confirm the income calculations. I upload those other 3 application documents, and you're approved. Those are for my cash participants. For those that are financing, there are a few other little steps that need to take place, i.e. I have to get the approval, and then there's also the settlement statement and things of that nature that kind of hold up the process, but your reservation is already in place, so the funds are held, okay, for you, and they're connected to your social. Another couple things is if you do have a co-applicant, I do need their social security number as well, because that is all how the state is going to deal with their tax forms when they send that out the following year for those that were awarded the grant funds. So that's the only reason we really need your social.
But to the point you made earlier, if somebody wants and they have an individual name on the deed, they can put themselves in as the applicant, use their annual income, their unique annual income, not their joint spousal
Right.
or whatever, or household.
Exactly.
And would that person include a co-applicant?
They would not be included as a co-applicant on there because we're only using that one person. So it would just be the one social that we would need.
Because that's like the one thing that I think actually kind of matters while you're filling out the application, in addition to just providing as much information as possible to be helpful and get the process going. Like the one thing is, hey, think about your eligibility requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an individual, and at this moment, as of August 15th, Catherine's able to reserve the grant for an individual listed on the deed, even if they're not the only individual. So,
Right.
obviously, do the right thing. Once that grant is reserved, they're in the system. What happens if they don't build, or like the project falls through, or they,
And they would just, we will be on top of them. That's one thing with the staff. So for all of you that are calling the office, I have to ask you to please send an email. Emails work easier. We're able to answer those questions faster and direct to you. So please don't pick up the phone after you've watched this video and call our office, because the voicemail calls are not going to be answered as swiftly as if we get an email from you. And I think Ryan has provided my email address. And normally I'm the one answering the emails late in the evening, so we can get the right information out as we move through this process. But again, no phone calls. Okay. I can't stress that enough. All right.
You're
No
only
phone
slowing
calls.
your
Send me
own
an email.
grant down if you call Catherine. But so just to restate my question a different way,
Yeah.
is there a penalty for reserving a grant
No.
today and then not being able to do a project?
No. And we are working so swiftly that we're going to be on top of you. Now, I really don't want you to kind of labor this out for a whole year.
Yeah.
If we're seeing that within 3 months, and I think that's pretty fair, possibly stretching at 6 months, that you're not really serious about the ADU project, or we've tried to help you get over whatever the hurdles are, within a 6-month period, then we will have to re-release those funds to someone else who's waiting. So yes, if we do exceed the 2,500 by the end of August, which is my plan, we will have a list of individuals that will take those if we're seeing a pattern of someone that we might need to recapture those funds from.
Which is the best way. That's how we all want the system to work, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's very easy to reserve your grant.
Yeah.
And you use it or you lose it. Once we hit a benchmark where it's like, hey, somebody else is waiting for this money and they're actually ready. And there's actually a process. There's actually an organization collecting the data, processing it, and doing it in a secure way where everything's still HUD inspected and blah 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 blah. All the things that we need to make sure that the money's going to real projects.
Exactly. And I want you to also know, with our HUD inspectors, when they do take a visit out to the property, it's not to, challenge your contractor or have an argument with building and safety. It's just to basically look and say that, hey, we saw when we first initiated this project that you had a vacant lot that was, ready to go. Then a couple months later, we drove by and we actually see, concrete and utilities being pulled through. Then a few months later, we may see that we've got some framing that's occurred. And then maybe that last step, we've seen it where we got an ADU and we're ready to rock and roll. That is how I want you to look at our inspectors. We are not there to scrutinize your project. We're definitely not there to give you any design elements or any aspects of that piece. That's all you. Yeah. We're just the eyes to make sure that the $40,000 did what it's supposed to do, and we've got an end unit of an ADU. So please don't be intimidated by that process at all. And they just send me, and they take a picture. They take a picture only of the unit, no individuals in it, and that's it. Cool. That's pretty much it. They are licensed not only by HUD to do their work, but they're also licensed contractors. So they do have an eye. We're not just sending out someone who's, doesn't know about the construction piece, like, I think that's an ADU out there. No, but we're sending people who actually know, ADUs, they know construction. So they are professional in that matter. But again, not to do anything with your project, but just to be the reporter back that this is actually, there's a project that's in motion out there.
It reminds me of like the cash for grass stuff, for like, it's just 40,000 instead of right. A couple. It's all right.
And then, Brian, I also want to just tell you, I think if anything, out of all of the COVID, I've looked at funding opportunities that even our organization was looking to pursue as a nonprofit, even you small business owners out there. And, they'll say that, oh, the city has X amount of dollar grants for small business owners or nonprofits to help with the rent or to help with payroll as we move through the pandemic. And I can just recall all the unnecessary ridiculousness, and even if that's not a word or not, regardless, it was just absolutely ridiculous. The money is there. I turned in my application. No one ever got back to me. I called a number. No one ever called me back. I possibly sent an email, didn't get a response. Look at HPP CARES as someone who went through that and sometimes didn't get funding opportunities, that now I'm the purse holder in the funding opportunity. We're going to make it as easy as possible for people to get this money. It shouldn't be difficult. People want to build ADUs. There's a housing issue. Provide me what I need. I just told you, those affidavits and literally the fund control account. So it shows who's in charge of the fund control account, because it's your money, not mine. Okay. And literally your social, the address where the project is, and your name. It's that easy. Mm-hmm. Why are we pausing?
It's crazy. It's crazy. And the amount that the state spends on creating housing units in other formats than ADU right. is astronomical. So if they look and see an uptick in ADU completion and permitting because of a $40,000 per unit expense, they are going to put so much money into ADUs over the next 8-10 years. It's really game changing. And then that'll be a model that rolls out around the country. Like it's really exciting if people like you start unlocking this and getting the purse open.
Yep.
Awesome. A question that I'm getting constantly is, what if I've already started?
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a bit about the process and what we know so far?
Okay. So for my people who've already started their project, I know there's been a question, am I going to get a check back? Because the website states that This is a reimbursement. So in Webster's dictionary, a reimbursement means refund. And I'm sure Ryan is going to flash that on the screen. Now, according to the rules, as they are as of today, the 15th of August, I'm not actually going to issue you a check, okay? So I want you to be very clear that HPP CARES is not going to write you a check once we approve you for the grant funds as of today, August 15th. I have a lot of consumers who feel that's not fair, especially those that have completed the project. So again, those that have completed the project, go to the fourth box at the bottom of the screen and tell me your information so we can deal with that at another time.
And that's like CO, you've completed.
Yeah, you've completed, CO, completed. For my people who've started, so let's say that you paid $4,000 for an architect, or you had some site clearing. Sign up for the grant so that we can work the rest of the pre-development funds through, activities through the grant funds that are in the managed escrow account. See, what's happened is the grants were assigned, and this is how I just see it, and I'm just a nonprofit in Long Beach. The grants were assigned, and unfortunately, they were set up and the rules were set up a certain way. We recognize that, and we want to try to figure out how we can fix that later on down the line. But it's the case that, yes, you started a few things, submit on the grant funds, and there may be a conversation of what could happen later. And I have to dance around it. Yes, I just danced around that answer, Ryan.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's an evolving question, right? And so let me put it this way. If I were 2/3 of the way through an ADU and I was spending, let's say I got a HELOC or I got a HELOC and I'm 2/3 of the way through. I am definitely going to fill out the form and show HPP CARES that I have all of my information and let them know where I am in the process and that I have receipts on the pre-development costs.
Yep.
And it's up to them to tell me whether they can help me today, help me a month from now, or whatever, right? That's what I would do. Now, I can't give you advice on your specific situation. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not your mom, but like, that's what I would do. If you are CO'd, like you got a certificate of occupancy, it's done. You finished. Maybe last year, maybe yesterday, but you're done. That's the fourth box. Just let HPP CARES know, hey man, I didn't get to apply because this policy rolled out last week, not 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And that's a different case. Okay, that's helpful. Yeah. And I think if somebody is, this might be too nitty gritty, but I think people are watching this long into the video. They want this probably. So if I get a loan, then I've already spent some pre-development money. Are you in a position where you can release grant funds to pay down the principal of the loan?
Very good question. I think we were reading each other's mind. So if it is a lender that is a part of our program, okay? And I want to be clear, the lenders that are part of our program are not the lenders that are above my name, okay? They have their own programs, their own way they're disseminating their $40,000, their own products and services. But for the parties that are working with our agency under financing, okay? Yes, if you have completed a lot of your pre-development and you're working with our financing parties, those funds would be used to pay down the principal, reduce interest rate, and to cover lender fees. Yes, to that question. As long as they're working with HPP CARES lenders. The next question is, well, we want to know who those lenders are. Again, everything has to come through our process before you get an introduction to find out about what the rates look like, et cetera, okay? Unfortunately, everybody is inundated and I want to eliminate getting complaint calls. So I need everybody to be processing their work. If you have questions, send it to ADU@HPP CARES, but I am not going to share rates and what the name of the companies are because I need to keep those people doing the job of getting people approved who are ready to move forward with our organization.
Yeah, it'll slow down everything. It'll log jam
Slow
everything.
down everything. And
What
that's what
else?
people don't understand. They think, oh, just one question, one more question. And I don't think that's fair. I really don't.
Literally 200,000 people saw the TikTok last week, right? And like
Yeah.
every time we put out a piece of content, HPP Cares is just getting flooded with applications, which is great.
Yeah.
But it also means like if you handle them one at a time, like a sales call, then
Yeah.
you get log jammed, which is what happened with a lot of the previous solutions.
Yeah, and that's what we recognized. I didn't give you a calendar. So when you do try to schedule an appointment, because I have people that are like, well, I'm going to schedule a home buyer appointment and we're going to cancel that appointment. You cannot go through that process. Don't try to circumvent the process. Go the way we're telling you. The link that's on the state's website is there specific. Listen to the video. As things are changing, I'm going to retape a video, okay? Every time to try to make sure you have the latest bits of information, but don't try to circumvent the process. If you have specific questions, I don't care how hairy they are, it's between you and me. We can have that conversation. If you're getting money from some alternative type of business that you run, send me an email, okay?
We do hear
It
everything.
stays between us because we're certified counselors, okay? I'm not going to tell anybody, trust me. The key is use the email system, adu@hppcares.org. Do not pick up the phone and call because you're going to have to wait. I've tried to be keeping up on those phone calls, but you're going to now have to start to wait because we just don't have the manpower right now to cover the phones as well as get all these approvals through.
Yep. Makes sense. That's what I'm telling all my clients like, hey, email, but first read, and honestly, fill out the application if you think that it's for you. Obviously, the organization is going to be in a much better place to help if you've filled out the application with as much information as you can before saying, I have 3 questions. There's one other piece. It's like I don't actually know how managed escrow accounts work. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like let's say I'm generationally wealthy and I just have $200,000 and I want to get the grant money in addition to that. So
Definitely.
I would start the application process for the cash version, and then you're gonna create a bank account called,
Mhm.
and then I have to put my money in that bank account, and then I don't have control over it the same way as if it were in my bank account. Could you talk a bit about that?
Definitely. So you do have control of it because it's your money. Okay. So we don't take control away from you. So let's get to the part. You've completed the application. The name of the fund control company is within the application that you're starting up. Okay. So it's there. We just ask that you don't call and ask 9,000 questions. We want you just to give us certain bits of information. Okay. As soon as I have a completed application, we submit and get your reservations to lock you in, okay, for those $40,000. I then take that piece of the application for the fund control account and I send it over to the representative that we're working with. She in turn creates a contract for whatever your budget is, i.e., let's say the budget for your ADU is $100,000 and now you have the $40,000. So you have a total of 140 that's going to be captured in your managed escrow account. Okay. That individual will provide us the appropriate documentation that in turn will explain to you everything contractually. I did want to back up a minute. When we do go to open up your account, we also send you brochures on the fee that's associated for that managed escrow account. That's not paid by you. It comes out of the grant funds. Okay. And so you'll understand the process before we even get to the account being opened. Okay. Then from there, if you need to have a separate conversation with their representative to kind of make sure everything is on the up and up, because everybody needs to make sure everything is on the up and up. If they're putting $200,000 in that account, you can have that conversation at that point. Trust me, we want to be transparent across the board. I don't want you to think any funny business here because there is no funny business. The monies have to go into this account so that we can pull in the state's funds so that our organization can monitor that there is in fact being an ADU built on this project. Now you say, well, Catherine, I put in my $200,000. I met the representative and I feel all warm and fuzzy. So my $200,000 wire came in from my fund account or wherever you've got that money saved. The $40,000 comes in. That representative confirms all the money is in. You say, well, now I want to use the money. Any monies that need to go out and be paid, you will send HPP CARES the email of invoices. We will fill out the request fund together. I will send over a DocuSign that you have to sign, not me. You have to sign to say, yes, those invoices need to be paid through the managed escrow, whether it's pre-development items or whether it's regular items that just need to be paid to complete the project. Every time we pull money from that account, you are the person that has to sign it. You, not me, you, okay? And so it will spell out who needs to be paid. Are they going to get ACHs? Do they need to get a check written? It all is spelled out, who, how, what, everything gets paid through that managed escrow account, okay? It even shows like, you know, X amount of dollars came from the grant. It shows the $200,000. And let me tell you, our escrow person at the fund control company or the managed escrow, she's no joke. She wants to know down to the penny exactly where she needs to pull each section of the money, because the money is broken out based off of your project. Well, what if I don't have a contractor? Not a problem. When you do get a contractor assigned and they give you your scope of work, we are going to break down where those funds need to be pulled from. And it is spelled out. So there's no hanky panky with your money. Trust me, no hanky panky with your money. We don't want that issue. We don't need any negativity regarding this program. We want to make sure monies are protected, project is completed, and we got ADUs.
Boom. Okay. Speaking of hanky panky, so I run a consulting business, and if somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey Ryan, can you get me in with HPP CARES? You had Catherine on the show." The answer to that is no, right? There is an application process. Everything is super above board.
Yeah.
When there is this much money on the table, it is very common for consulting companies to start emerging and saying, "I will get you ahead."
Yeah.
What should people do when they see that kind of behavior?
They need to notify me via email. That's the time you can pick up the phone and call the office. Okay? And I don't care what day it is, if it's Sunday or whatever, we've got someone handling the phone 365 days of the year for those very calls, because I immediately want to know if you've been in an event, particularly a road show where there's ADUs being shown and they're saying that, oh, pay us $7,000, we can definitely get your grant application in. Understand, the only organizations that have access to submit a grant application are those that are listed on CalHFA's website. So you see HPP CARES, you see the city of San Diego, you see the city of Pasadena, you see various other lenders. We are the only ones that have access to the grant portal system. So I definitely want to know, especially if someone is using my organization's name saying that, oh yeah, I'm in with HPP CARES, pay me $7,000, because we want to go and shut that down immediately.
And you just don't need it, honestly. Like there's no impediment. If I could add value, I would say, hey, I'm a consulting person and blah blah blah. But just go to the website. You don't need anybody. That's why this is not a sponsored thing. It's just like, man, this is the dream. We're getting people money that they can use to build ADUs. That's what we're all here for. So
I want to make sure that we speak to this, Ryan.
Yeah, please.
We recognize that there's multiple languages in our fabulous state of California, and multiple groups that are represented here. And unfortunately, I don't have the millions of dollars to actually create the actual slides to accommodate that. But what we did do is, when you go into hppcares.org, and you go to the three buttons that are on, or the three lines that are at the top right-hand side, when you open that up, you're able to go down to Google Translator and click that button, and every page on the site turns into the dialect that you need in order to understand it. Now you say, well, your application is in English. We're in the process of trying to get the 5 or 6 core languages built into the application. Just, it's a funding thing. So if you are a donor out there and you want to see us blow this up, we'll tell you who to pay so that we can get our applications translated. You don't even have to give us the money, or you can give us the money and you can do it as a restricted grant. And then we'll pay the company and show you the proof that we got the applications translated.
I like it. That's the key, and that's how we're gonna keep blowing this up. Keep getting people the funding they need to actually build these projects.
Yeah,
So see something, say something. There's a lot.
please.
I don't want I don't want fraud out there, right?
No.
And you're if you're watching this, you're in a great position to spot it first. So if you hear somebody say something that you know isn't true or contradicts what we've said, come and let us know in the comments. Let Catherine know directly through the email, and like obviously things can change, but that one in particular, I'm pretty thorny about. So
Yeah.
wanted to put that out there. Other than that, is there anything you want people to know that we haven't been able to talk about today?
No, I think we touched on a ton of stuff. As we move and have additional changes coming soon, I'm sure we'll put out another video after
Yeah,
August 15th.
that's it. And like this video is the state of the art as of August 15th. You've gotten more information than is available anywhere else on the internet. But starting as soon as there's another update, it's going to be more relevant. So this, I'm going to put it up here, a playlist that starts with the most recent grant news.
Mhm.
And so please just check what's happening currently. Go to the link in the description below, which I can change over time, unlike the video, and check that out. And thank you so much for coming on the show, Catherine. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you are eligible or you have a family member or a friend who might be eligible, this is the time to hit that share button and let them know. I don't beg for it, but on this one, I think they'll be thanking you.
Exactly.